When you think about professionally overcoming the most common objection, it's important to prepare before you get into the situation, just like I was saying. And part of that is to figure out what are the most common objections. Each of us have a common objection, and they're different, but they're the ones that we keep getting in front of us. And there are reasons for that. It's all important to think about these things in advance, because when they pop up, they seem surprising when they pop up in the moment. But when we think of them in advance, we can actually do something about them. The amazing thing, I've been teaching this sales and this type of training for about 20 years. And the amazing thing is even though it feels like there are thousands of questions, everybody could have 3 or 4 different questions. There could be any number of questions that we don't have answers to. The good news is that's not the case. While in our practice, that's not been our experience over the years and all the different groups I've been in. As we think about preparing for the scariest objections, we're going to invite you after the session to take, or if you have Post-it notes near you, just take a Post-it note and start writing down the scariest objection on each note. So if you have like time, you might say time, and you might even say, I don't have the time, or it's not a good time. Just one at a time, one per Post-it note. So it's not a good time, Post-it note, your service is too expensive, Post-it note, and then put them all on a wall. This is particularly fun if you can do this with a team, or if you're a nonprofit with your board, it's particularly fun. This is a university development team, this picture that was doing this. We had them put them on the wall and then group them into common themes. The shocking thing was the energy around this, because even though each person had their scariest objection or their scariest question on their Post-it notes, it neutralized them. And I think it was Carlos that was saying in there that it detached them to see other people had similar ones. And there are other ways of wording it. So like I said, with time, this isn't the best time, or I'm just too busy right now. I'm overwhelmed with my stuff. I don't have the time to do this. All those types of things would make one category. If you had another one of why your company, I'm not sure if you're the right choice, that could be another theme. There could be price objections, of course, timing. We looked at interest rates, market, things that are outside of your control could be part of it as well. As we put them into groups, you can start developing answers. And we're going to look at 3 different levels of answers to be looking for these themes. But the good news is there are usually only 7 to 10 themes as I've worked with groups. Some groups get to 11. Some groups stay as low as 5. But they're usually only 7 to 10 answers, usually around 10 or less answers that you have to actually come up with when it comes to answering objections and thinking about how you're going to respond to what people say. I find it to be incredibly freeing because I have a very active mind. And when I am in a negative space, I can think of all the reasons why people would object to whatever I'm doing or wanting to invite them into. And to know that they still clump together has been really, really exciting. Usually there's 5 or so major groups, and then there are some rogue elements that you can address. And often the 5 or so major groups, if you work with other teams, will be similar team to team. And then the rogue elements are just things that may be specific for your geography, your organization, your sector, that kind of thing. What I want to look at is first the common themes. I asked people on my list, on the Exactly What to Say list, and before this, just to say, what are some of the common themes that you're coming back with? And the responses we got mirror what you said in chat. The first one was the timing isn't right. And that was all sorts of flavors of that, of I can't possibly have the time to do this, or I don't have the time, or this is a busy time. So seasonally, this isn't the right time. Cost is too much, which had all sorts of, this is just too expensive. I didn't budget for this. Why are you charging so much? I could do it myself for less. All those kind of go into the price objection. Third one that came out, which also came up in the chat, I was kind of excited to see, is how are you different than everyone else? You're asking me to do this and y'all look the same to me. Why should I choose you over everybody else? Once you know those, you can prepare and do some 3 different answers for them. You can either come up with phrases or question prompts, and we're going to look at 3 in this training that can help you to kind of get more understanding, try not assume you know where people are coming from, and also get you off your back foot of having to provide answers. so that when you ask the questions, you can control the conversation, but you also are able to not be defensive, and you can be actually on the same side of the table as the other person. You can also develop some answers. There are times that answers are appropriate. Answers are usually best kept inside. Many of the answers that we come up with are either snarky, because it's usually stereotypical objection answering, or they're either kind of witty, snarky, put down or something. So it's best if maybe we think them, but we don't necessarily say them. But there are some times when it's good to have some answers. There are legitimate questions that people ask that they don't know the context to, and you being the expert in your area, you're able to give that context to them. And we'll also look at the power of client testimonials, the sheer harnessing of story and third-party social proof that you can use to help you not even have to necessarily be the person answering for the objections.